The hazel eyes staring up at Kang Min-ho weren't his wife's. They weren't a stranger's. They were his. He froze in the middle of a Lego supermarket, basket forgotten, breath stolen. The little boy, 4 years old, curly-haired, beautiful, looked up at him with the one genetic impossibility Min-ho thought he'd never see again. Hazel eyes, in an African child, staring at him like a ghost made flesh. And then he saw her. Julie Kansi, the woman who disappeared from Seoul 5 years ago without a word. The woman whose face haunted every empty night since. The woman who was now gripping that boy's hand like she was about to run again. Min-ho's heart detonated. She didn't know he saw her yet. She was turned away, reaching for something on a shelf, unaware that her entire world was about to collapse. The boy tugged her hand. "Mommy, that tall man is staring at us." Julie's spine went rigid. She turned slowly, like someone who knew exactly what horror waited behind them. Their eyes met across 12 feet of market chaos. Recognition slammed into both of them like a freight train. Min-ho watched her face cycle through shock, fear, calculation, then something that looked suspiciously like guilt. The boy looked between them, confused. "Mommy, why does he look sad?" Min-ho's voice came out raw, barely controlled. "How old is he?" Julie's jaw clenched. She didn't answer. She couldn't, because the truth was written in every impossible detail of that child's face. Min-ho took one step forward. Julie took one step back. And the war that ended 5 years ago ignited again, this time with a child caught in the crossfire. Welcome to this session, besties. What you were about to witness shattered everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and the lies we tell to survive. Please like, share, and subscribe, because this story didn't end where you thought it did. 5 years earlier, Seoul bled neon and secrets. Min-ho ruled the city's underworld with surgical precision. No excess violence, no unnecessary chaos, just cold efficiency. He wasn't the loudest kingpin. He was the smartest. And smart men didn't get emotional. Until her. Julie Kansi crashed into his life during a charity gala he attended for appearances. She was a volunteer coordinator, Nigerian, curvy, laughing too loudly at a donor's terrible joke while serving champagne with hands that looked too tired for someone so young. Min-ho noticed her immediately. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she looked free. Like she didn't carry bodies in her past. He envied that. They spoke for exactly 7 minutes that night. She asked him what he did for a living. He lied smoothly. She didn't believe him but smiled anyway. "Men with secrets always stand too straight," she said. Min-ho felt something crack open inside his chest. 3 weeks later, they were inseparable. Min-ho told himself it was just physical. Julie told herself he was just passing through. They both lied. The night everything changed, Min-ho had just finalized his exit strategy. He'd liquidated assets quietly, purchased a new identity, planned to disappear into legitimate business in 6 months. He was going to ask Julie to come with him. But Park Jin-woo, a rival who'd been circling Min-ho's territory like a shark, found out about the exit plan. Jin-woo didn't want Min-ho gone. He wanted Min-ho controlled. So Jin-woo orchestrated an ambush. Min-ho's car was hit on the way to meet Julie. Bullets shattered glass. His driver died instantly. Min-ho barely escaped with a knife wound to his shoulder and rage burning in his veins. He had 2 choices: stay and fight a war that would consume everyone he loved, or let Julie believe he'd abandoned her so she'd leave Seoul and survive. Min-ho chose survival. He ghosted Julie completely, changed his number, moved to a secure location, sent his lieutenant to leave an envelope of cash at her apartment with a single word scrawled on paper: "Sorry. Just sorry." Julie found the envelope 3 days later, the same day she discovered she was pregnant. She sat on her bathroom floor, staring at two pink lines, and made a calculation colder than any Minho ever had. If he didn't want her, he definitely wouldn't want a child. And if his enemies discovered she was carrying his baby, they'd use it as leverage. So Julie Kansi did what survivors do. She vanished. She used the cash Minho left to buy a plane ticket to Lagos. She changed her name on documents. She cut ties with everyone in Seoul. And 9 months later, she gave birth to a boy with hazel eyes that made her cry every time she looked at him. She named him Allan, and she prayed Minho would never find them. For 4 years, her prayer held. Until today. But here's what Julie didn't know yet. Minho didn't abandon her. He'd been searching for 5 years. And the moment he spotted those hazel eyes in Lagos, the hunt was over. Stay with me, because what happened next changed both their lives forever. Minho's mind was a war zone. He stood frozen in the Lagos market, baskets still dangling from one hand, while his brain processed the impossible. That child. Those eyes. The timeline. The woman who ran. His voice came out steady despite the earthquake inside him. Julie. She flinched like he slapped her. The boy, Allan, Minho would learn later, pressed closer to his mother's leg. Mommy, who's that? Julie's lips trembled. No one, baby. Let's go. But Minho was already moving. Not fast. He didn't want to scare the child, but deliberate. He closed the distance in 4 measured steps and stopped just out of reach. How old is he? Minho repeated, voice cracking now. Julie lifted her chin, defiant even in terror. That's none of your business. Look at his eyes, Julie, Minho said quietly. And tell me he's not my business. The market noise faded. Other shoppers moved around them like water around stones. Allan stared up at Minho with open curiosity, completely unaware that his existence just rewrote 2 people's destinies. Julie's voice shook. You left. Minho. You left. You don't get to show up in another country and demand answers. Minho's jaw tightened. I left to keep you alive, he said. Park Jin-woo ambushed me the night I was going to propose to you. I had 2 choices, stay and watch you become collateral, or disappear so he'd think you meant nothing to me. Julie's breath caught. You, what? I searched for you for 3 years, Minho continued, raw honesty bleeding through. I hired investigators across 6 countries. You erased yourself too well. His gaze dropped to Allan. And you took my son with you. He's 4. Julie whispered, voice breaking. You've been gone for 5 years. Do the math, Minho. I didn't even know I was pregnant until after you disappeared. Minho's expression fractured. He swayed slightly, like the ground shifted beneath him. You were pregnant when I left you that money? Julie nodded, tears streaming now. I thought the money was your way of saying I was a mistake. So I took it and ran before your enemies could find me. A sound escaped Minho's throat, half grief, half rage at the universe. He sank to one knee, eye level with Allan, and his voice went impossibly soft. Hello, he said. My name is Minho. Allan tilted his head. You have my eyes, he observed. Minho's smile was broken and beautiful. Or you have mine. Julie pulled Allan back protectively. Don't, she warned. Don't bond with him and then disappear again. Minho rose slowly, gaze locked on hers. I'm not disappearing, he said. Not ever again. Behind them, a black SUV pulled up too close to the curb. Minho's body shifted instantly, positioning himself between Julie and the vehicle, hands sliding toward the concealed weapon at his back. 2 men stepped out. Not hostile. These were Minho's security team, the ones he brought to Lagos for a business expansion deal that now felt meaningless. His lieutenant, Choi Sung-min, approached cautiously. Sir, we've been looking for you. The meeting with the Lagosian investors starts in 30 minutes. Minho didn't look away from Julie. Cancel it. Sungmin blinked. Sir. Cancel everything, Minho said. I just found my family. Julie's breath hitched. Allan tugged her hand. Mommy, are we in trouble? Minho knelt again, this time even more careful. No, Allan, he said gently. You're safe. I promise. And for the first time in 4 years, Julie almost believed that safety was possible. Almost. But safety was an illusion. Because Park Jin-woo, the man who started this war, had just landed in Lagos 3 hours ago. And he wasn't there for business. He was there for revenge. Keep watching. An hour later, they sat in a private room at Minho's hotel, the kind of suite that cost more per night than Julie's monthly rent. Allan explored the space with wide-eyed wonder, touching curtains like they were made of clouds. Julie sat stiffly on the edge of a leather chair, arms crossed, every muscle screaming flight risk. Minho stood by the window, phone in hand, issuing quiet orders that sounded less like requests and more like sentences. When he finally turned to face Julie, his expression was unreadable. I need to ask you something, he began. Julie's jaw tightened. If it's about custody. It's about survival, Minho interrupted. Park Jin-woo is in Lagos. The blood drained from Julie's face. How do you know? Because I've been tracking his movements for 5 years, Minho replied. And 3 hours ago, he cleared customs at Murtala Muhammad International. He doesn't know about Allan yet, but he will. Julie's hands shook. Why would he care about Allan? Minho's voice went cold. Because the fastest way to destroy me is to take what I love. And now that I've found you again, you're both targets. Allan looked up from the toy car he found. Are we playing hide and seek? He asked innocently. Julie forced a smile. Something like that, baby. Minho crouched in front of Julie, hands resting on the chair arms, caging her in without touching. Let me protect you, he said quietly. Both of you. I have resources. Safe houses. A security team that's kept me alive through 3 attempted coups. I can make you disappear properly this time, not like before, where you had to run alone. Julie's voice cracked. I spent 4 years building a life without you. I have a job, a community. Allan has friends. And you'll have all of that again, Minho promised. Once Jin-woo is neutralized. Neutralized. Julie's laugh was bitter. You mean killed. Minho didn't flinch. If necessary. I don't want Allan growing up in that world, Julie whispered fiercely. Minho's gaze softened. Neither do I, he admitted. Which is why I've spent the last 2 years dismantling my operation piece by piece. I'm legitimate now, mostly. But Jin-woo, he's still living in the old world. And he wants to pull me back in by hurting the people I love. Julie studied his face, the exhaustion under his eyes, the new scar along his jaw, the way his hands trembled slightly when he mentioned her and Allan together. Why now? She asked. Why come to Lagos? You could have sent people to watch over us. Minho's voice dropped to a whisper. Because I was dying without you. And I didn't even know about Allan yet. I came here to finalize an investment deal and try to forget you existed. He laughed without humor. Then I walked into a market and saw my son for the first time. Emotion cracked through Julie's defenses. She pressed her palms to her eyes, overwhelmed. This is too much. I know, Minho murmured. But I'm asking anyway. Come with me. Let me fix what I broke 5 years ago. Allan wandered over, sensing his mother's distress. He climbed into her lap and patted her cheek. Don't be sad, Mommy. Minho watched them, expression breaking. Please, he added, let me be his father. Even if you never forgive me, let me protect him. Julie met his gaze. She saw desperation there, devotion, danger. She exhaled shakily. If I do this, if I let you into our lives, you don't get to leave again. Ever. Minho's voice was fierce. I won't. And you don't get to make me disappear, Julie continued. I'm not hiding forever. If you're really legitimate now, prove it. Let me keep my life. Minho nodded slowly. Then we compromise. You keep your life. I secure it. Allan looked between them. Is Minho staying? He asked. Julie's voice cracked. Yeah, baby. He's staying. Minho's smile was tentative, hopeful, terrified. And in that moment, the war shifted from external to internal, because now Minho had to figure out how to be a father while still being the man who knew how to end lives. Here's the twist none of them saw coming. Park Jin-woo already knew about Allan. He'd known for 2 weeks. And the meeting Minho just cancelled? That was the trap. Stay locked in, because the danger just walked through the door. Park Jin-woo sat in a nondescript hotel room across town, watching security footage on a tablet. He was older now, mid-50s, silver threading through black hair, face weathered by violence and expensive whiskey. But his eyes were still sharp, still hungry. On the screen, Minho knelt in front of a curly-haired boy in a Lagos market. The angle was perfect. The timestamp was damning. Jin-woo's smile was venom. So, he murmured to the man standing beside him, Minho has a son. The man, a hired investigator with loyalty bought cheaply, nodded. 4 years old. Mother's name is Julie Kansi. Nigerian. No criminal record. Works at a women's health clinic in Surulere. Jin-woo tapped the screen thoughtfully. And Minho doesn't know we know? Not yet, the investigator confirmed. He's scrambling to secure them now. Moved them to the Peninsula Hotel an hour ago. Jin-woo leaned back, steepling his fingers. Good. Let him think he's in control. He paused. How attached is he? The investigator pulled up another clip. Minho lifting Allan onto his shoulders outside the hotel, the boy laughing while Julie watched with cautious hope. Jin-woo's smile widened. Very attached. Perfect. He made a call. The voice on the other end was clipped, professional. Sir. I need a message delivered, Jin-woo said. Nothing violent. Just pointed. Make sure the woman sees it first. I want her scared before Minho can comfort her. Understood. Jin-woo ended the call and poured himself a drink. He'd waited 5 years for this. 5 years of Minho dodging his reach, legitimizing his empire, making Jin-woo look weak by comparison. But now Minho had a weakness Jin-woo could exploit. He raised his glass to the screen, where Minho was frozen mid-laugh. Checkmate, Jin-woo whispered. Meanwhile, at the Peninsula Hotel, Julie tried to settle into a life that felt like a dream laced with cyanide. Minho's suite had 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lagos skyline, and security so subtle she only noticed it when she tried to leave and a polite bodyguard intercepted her with a smile. Just keeping you safe, ma'am, the guard said. Julie's jaw clenched. She turned back inside and found Minho on a call, speaking rapid Korean. When he noticed her, he ended the conversation immediately. Problem? He asked. Your people won't let me leave, Julie said tightly. Minho sighed. They're not stopping you. They're escorting you. There's a difference. It feels like a cage. Minho crossed to her, hands carefully at his sides. I know. And I'm sorry. But until I neutralize Jin-woo, I can't risk. Stop saying neutralize like it doesn't mean murder, Julie interrupted. Minho's expression hardened. Would you prefer I let him kill our son? The words hung between them like a blade. Julie exhaled shakily. No, I need air. Minho nodded. Then we go together. They took Allan to a nearby park, small, quiet, with guards positioned at every entrance. Allan ran ahead, chasing pigeons, laughing. Minho watched him like he was memorizing every movement. I missed so much, Minho said quietly. Julie glanced at him. You missed his first steps, his first word. The night he had pneumonia and I thought I'd lose him. Minho flinched. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me those years back, Julie replied. But her voice lacked the venom she wanted it to have. They sat on a bench. Allan brought them flowers he'd picked, technically weeds, but he was proud. Minho accepted them solemnly. Thank you, he said. These are perfect. Allan beamed. Julie's heart ached. That evening, back at the hotel, Julie received a message on her phone. Unknown number. A photo loaded slowly. Her clinic, front door spray-painted with a single word, run. Her hands shook. Minho saw her face change and took the phone instantly. His expression went glacial. When was this sent? Just now, Julie whispered. Minho made 3 calls in under a minute. Guards mobilized. Traffic cameras were pulled. Within an hour, he had the identity of the vandals, low-level thugs hired through an intermediary. But the message was clear. Jinwoo knew where Julie worked, and he wanted her terrified. That night, Julie couldn't sleep. She paced the suite, checking on Allan every 20 minutes. Minho found her at 3 a.m., staring out the window. He won't get to you, Minho said quietly. Julie turned. You can't promise that. Watch me. Minho stepped closer, and for the first time since they reunited, Julie didn't pull away. She let him wrap his arms around her, let herself collapse into the solid heat of him, let herself be afraid. I hate this, she whispered into his chest. I know, Minho murmured, but I won't let him win. And as dawn broke over Lagos, Minho made a decision. It was time to end Park Jinwoo permanently. Not just for revenge. For the family he'd only just found. But Jinwoo had one more card to play. And when Julie discovered what it was, she'd have to choose between trusting Minho completely or running again. This time with consequences. 2 days later, a woman arrived at the hotel claiming to be Minho's wife. Her name was Seo Hygiene, and she was elegant in the way that money bought. Tailored suit, perfect hair, diamond earrings that caught light like warnings. She breezed past security with an air of entitlement and stopped in front of Minho's suite door. When Julie answered, curious and cautious, Hygiene's smile was venom-wrapped in silk. You must be the mistress, Hygiene said in perfect English. Julie blinked. I'm sorry, who are you? I'm Seo Hygiene, the woman replied. Minho's wife. Well, estranged wife, technically, but still legally bound. The floor dropped out from under Julie's world. Minho emerged from the bedroom, Allan on his hip. When he saw Hygiene, his expression went cold. Get out. Hygiene's laugh was musical and cruel. Is that any way to greet your wife? She glanced at Allan. And who's this? Did you finally procreate? Minho set Allan down gently. Go to your room, Allan. Allan hesitated, sensing tension, then obeyed. The moment the door clicked shut, Julie turned on Minho. Wife, she hissed. Minho's jaw tightened. Ex-wife. Technically. Julie's voice cracked. You told me you were single when we met. I was, Minho insisted. Hygiene and I divorced 4 years ago. The paperwork finalized while you were pregnant. Hygiene interrupted, voice dripping false sympathy. Oh, did he not mention? Our divorce was complicated. Financial entanglements. Shared properties. We're still in arbitration. She smiled at Julie. So technically, I'm still Mrs. Kong. Julie felt sick. She backed toward the door. I can't do this. Julie, wait. Minho reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't touch me, Julie said, voice shaking. You lied. Again. I didn't lie, Minho argued. I just didn't. Didn't think it mattered? Julie's laugh was broken. I left my entire life because you abandoned me, and now I find out you had a wife the whole time. Hygiene watched the explosion with visible satisfaction. I should go, she said sweetly. I've clearly caused enough drama for one day. She paused at the door. Oh, and Minho? The arbitration hearing is next week. I'll see you in Seoul. She left. The silence that followed was suffocating. Julie pressed her palms to her eyes. I need to think. Julie. Alone, she interrupted. I need to think alone. Minho nodded slowly, defeated. I'll be in the other room. If you need me. Julie didn't answer. She just stood there, trembling, as her world collapsed for the second time in 5 years. An hour later, Minho sat on the suite's balcony, phone in hand, calling his lawyer. Tell me about Hygiene, he ordered. The lawyer's voice was cautious. Sir, the divorce is finalized. Has been for 3 years. There's no arbitration. She's lying. Minho's grip tightened on the phone. Then why is she here? I don't know, the lawyer admitted. But if she's claiming otherwise, she's either delusional or working with someone. Minho ended the call and immediately dialed his lieutenant. Find out who sent Hygiene to Lagos. I want names in the next 2 hours. On it. Inside the suite, Julie sat on the bed with Allan curled beside her. He was asleep, unaware of the chaos. She stroked his curls and tried to breathe through the panic. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time, a video loaded. It was grainy security footage. Minho and Hygiene at a restaurant 6 months ago. The angle made it look intimate. They were sitting close, talking quietly. The timestamp read March 2025. Julie's heart cracked. A message followed. He's been seeing her the whole time. Ask him about their business dinners. Julie's hands shook. She wanted to believe this was fake. Wanted to trust Minho. But the doubt was a poison spreading fast. She got up, walked to the balcony door, and stopped when she heard Minho's voice. I don't care what it costs. Find out who hired Hygiene and eliminate the threat. I won't lose Julie again. The words should have comforted her. Instead, they terrified her. Because eliminate the threat sounded too much like the man she ran from 5 years ago. That night, Julie confronted Minho with the video. He watched it once, then looked at her with raw honesty. That was a meeting about liquidating shared assets, he explained. Hygiene wanted to negotiate privately, without lawyers present. I agreed because I thought it would finalize things faster. Why didn't you tell me you were still meeting her? Julie demanded. Because it didn't matter, Minho replied. She's my past. You're my present. Allan is my future. But she's in our lives now, Julie said. Because of you. Minho stepped closer. No. She's in our lives because someone sent her. And I'm going to find out who. The answer came 2 hours later. Sungmin called with confirmation. Hygiene was paid $50,000 to disrupt Minho's new relationship by Park Jin-woo's financial team. Minho's expression went dead calm when he heard the news. Where is she now? Her hotel. Should we? No, Minho interrupted. Let her go. She's a pawn. I want the king. He turned to Julie, who'd been listening from the doorway. Jin Woo sent her. He's trying to break us apart because it's easier than fighting me directly. Julie's voice was small. How do I know you're telling the truth? Minho crossed to her slowly, stopping just out of reach. Because if I wanted to lie, I'd do it better than this. His voice cracked. I'm done hiding, Julie. From you. From Allan. From the life I want. Julie studied his face. The exhaustion, the desperation, the love that looked like it was tearing him apart from the inside. I believe you, she whispered finally. But I'm still scared. Minho exhaled like she just saved his life. Then be scared with me. Not alone. That night, they didn't sleep. They sat together on the couch, hands touching, walls slowly crumbling, while Allan slept peacefully in the next room. And for the first time, Julie thought maybe, just maybe, they could survive this. But Jin Woo wasn't done. Not even close. Because while Minho was focused on protecting Julie, Jin Woo was making his real move, one that targeted Allan directly. And when it happened, Minho would have to choose between being the man he wanted to be and the monster he was afraid he still was. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon. Allan was at a play center Minho carefully vetted. Guards at every entrance, cameras monitoring every corner, staff screened like they were protecting the president. It cost Minho a small fortune to make this place bulletproof. But money couldn't buy immunity from cleverness. Julie was with him, watching him climb through a foam obstacle course, when her phone rang. The caller ID read Lagos General Hospital. Ms. Kansi, this is Dr. Adeyemi. We have a patient here asking for you specifically. She says it's urgent, life or death. Julie frowned. Who is it? A woman named Grace. She says you sponsored her visa 2 years ago. Julie's heart sank. Grace, a young mother fleeing domestic violence, one of the first women Julie helped relocate from an abusive situation. If Grace was in the hospital asking for her, something was desperately wrong. I'll be right there, Julie said. She told the head guard where she was going. He insisted on accompanying her. She agreed, leaving 2 other guards with Allan, both ex-military, both trained by Minho himself. It should have been enough. It wasn't. 20 minutes later, Julie arrived at the hospital. Dr. Adeyemi met her in the lobby, confused. I'm sorry, Ms. Kansi, but we don't have any patient named Grace. Julie's blood turned to ice. But you just called me. I didn't call anyone, the doctor insisted. And I've been in surgery for the last 3 hours. I just got out. Julie's vision tunneled. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone to call the play center. The guard beside her was already moving, speaking rapidly into his radio. Possible breach. Verify status of the asset. Asset. That was what they called her son. The word made Julie want to scream. She dialed the play center. The line rang, and rang, and rang. When someone finally answered, it wasn't the staff's warm voice. It was static. White noise. And beneath it, so faint she almost thought she was imagining it, a child crying. The phone went dead. Julie screamed. The sound that ripped from her throat was primal, ancient, the sound every mother made when she realized her child was gone. The hospital lobby went silent. People stared. She didn't care. She was already running toward the exit, the guard barely keeping up, her mind fracturing into 1,000 terrible possibilities. Minho was in a business meeting when Sung-min burst through the door. The executives at the table froze. No one interrupted Chairman Kang's meetings. Ever. The fact that Sung Min just did meant something catastrophic had happened. Min Ho saw his lieutenant's face, ashen, stricken, and already knew. "Sir," Sung Min said, voice tight. "It's Allan." Min Ho was on his feet before the sentence finished, body moving on autopilot. "What happened?" "Play center breach. 3 guards down, non-lethal, but unconscious. Someone gassed the ventilation system with a sedative. By the time staff realized what was happening, Allan was already gone, taken through the back exit. We lost visual 2 blocks out." Min Ho's world narrowed to a single, sharp point of focus. His voice came out dead calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "How long ago?" 12 minutes. 12 minutes. A lifetime in kidnapping scenarios. The first hour was critical. After that, the odds of recovery dropped exponentially. Min Ho's mind became a weapon. He processed options, probabilities, protocols. His training, decades of navigating danger, kicked in like muscle memory. "Mobilize every asset," he ordered, voice cutting through the room like a blade. "Lock down the airports, the ports, the major roads. I want traffic cameras from every intersection within a 10-mile radius. Pull satellite feeds if you have to. And I want Park Jin-woo's location now." "Sir, Jin-woo is in prison." "I don't care if he's in hell," Min Ho interrupted. "Find out who he's been communicating with, who visited him, who's carrying out his orders. I want names, locations, and blood types. Move." Sung Min nodded and disappeared, already on his phone. The executives were still frozen at the table. Min Ho turned to them once, expression empty. "This meeting is over. Leave." They scrambled out. Within 30 minutes, Min Ho's entire network was activated. Private drones swept the city. Traffic cameras were hacked and monitored. Informants across Lagos, people who owed Min Ho favors, people who feared him, people who respected him, flooded in with tips. Bribes flowed like water. The underground economy of information lit up like a circuit board. Min Ho coordinated from his office, surrounded by screens, speaking in 3 languages, issuing orders with surgical precision. But beneath the calm, he was dying. Every second without his son was a knife twisting deeper. Every lead that went nowhere was another piece of his soul crumbling. Then Julie arrived. She burst through the door, escorted by guards, face streaked with tears. The moment she saw Min Ho, she collapsed. He caught her before she hit the ground, wrapping his arms around her as she sobbed into his chest. "I'm going to find him," he said, voice steel wrapped in velvet. "I swear to you, Julie, I will bring our son home." Julie sobbed harder. "This is my fault. I left him. I shouldn't have left him." "This is Jin-woo's fault," Min Ho interrupted fiercely, pulling back to look her in the eyes. "Not yours. Never yours. Do you hear me?" She nodded, trembling. Min Ho held her face gently. "I need you to breathe. I need you strong. Because when we get him back, and we will get him back, he's going to need both of us." Julie forced herself to inhale. Exhale. Inhale. She was a survivor. She knew how to compartmentalize fear. She'd done it before. But this was different. This was her child. Min Ho's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker, already knowing who it was. Park Jin-woo's voice slithered through the speaker like oil. "Hello, Min Ho." The room went silent. Every person present stopped breathing. Min Ho's expression didn't change, but Julie felt his body turn to stone beneath her hands. "Where is he?" "Your son." Jin-woo's laugh was light, almost friendly. "Safe. For now. He's actually quite charming. Asked me if I was a friend of yours. I told him we were old business partners. He seemed satisfied with that. Minho's voice dropped to a whisper. If you hurt him, you'll what? Jinwoo interrupted, voice hardening. Kill me? You've been trying to go legitimate, Minho. Murder doesn't fit your new brand. The philanthropist. The reformed gangster. The doting father. He spat the last word like poison. You don't know what I'm capable of when someone threatens my family, Minho said quietly. Then let's negotiate, Jinwoo suggested, tone shifting to business. You. Alone. Tomorrow at noon. Location to be sent 1 hour before the meeting. You come unarmed, unguarded, and I'll return your son unharmed. And if I refuse? Jinwoo's voice turned colder than death. Then I raise him myself. Teach him the family business you tried to leave behind. Mold him into the weapon you should have been. How poetic would that be? Your son, carrying on the legacy you abandoned. The threat hung in the air like a noose. Minho's jaw clenched so hard Julie heard his teeth grind. You have my answer. Send the location. The call ended. Silence. Then Julie broke it, voice shaking so hard she could barely form words. You can't go alone. It's a trap. I know, Minho replied. He'll kill you. Minho turned to her, eyes burning with something ancient and absolute. Maybe. But I'll die making sure Allan lives. Don't say that, Julie whispered, gripping his shirt. Don't you dare say that. Minho cupped her face, thumbs brushing away tears. If I have to choose between my life and his Julie, there's no choice. There never was. That night, Minho didn't sleep. He planned. He coordinated. He accepted that this might be his last night alive. His office became a war room. Maps covered every surface. Phone logs scrolled across screens. Sungmin and a team of specialists worked through the night, building contingency plans, backup plans, plans for the backup plans. At 4 a.m., Julie found him still in the study, surrounded by scenarios that all ended in blood. She sat beside him without speaking. For a long time, they just existed together in the dark, two people who'd survived too much to believe in fairy tales anymore. Finally, Minho broke the silence. If I don't come back. Don't, Julie interrupted, voice cracking. If I don't come back, Minho continued firmly, Sungmin has instructions. Money in offshore accounts, property deeds, custody documents. Everything Allan needs to have a life without looking over his shoulder. He needs his father, Julie whispered fiercely. Not money. Not property. You. Minho turned to her, eyes shining with unshed tears. Then I'll come back. But if I have to choose between my life and his, Julie, there's no choice, she finished, voice breaking. I know. She kissed him then, desperate, terrified, furious. It wasn't gentle. It was a claiming, a promise, a farewell that neither wanted to acknowledge. Her tears mixed with his. Their breath mingled like prayer. When they broke apart, both were crying openly. Come back to us, Julie begged. I can't do this without you. I can't raise him alone. I can't. Minho kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You won't have to. I promise you, I'm coming back. You can't promise that, Julie sobbed. Watch me, Minho replied. And in his voice, she heard the same steel that built an empire, survived a war, and refused to let her go 5 years ago. She believed him. She had to. The next morning at 11:45 a.m., Minho arrived at the location Jinwoo sent, an abandoned warehouse near the Lagos port. He was alone, unarmed, exactly as instructed. Jinwoo stood in the center of the space, Allan beside him. The boy looked scared but unharmed. Daddy! Allan cried when he saw Minho. Minho's heart shattered. He took one step forward. Let him go, Jin-woo. Jin-woo smiled. Not yet. First, I want to watch you beg. Minho didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees. Please, take everything I have. My businesses, my money, my life. Just let my son go. Jin-woo studied him, surprised. You really do love them. More than anything, Minho confirmed. For a moment, something almost human flickered across Jin-woo's face. Then it was gone. Love makes you weak, he said. He pulled out a gun, leveled it at Minho's chest. And weakness is how kings fall. But before Jin-woo could pull the trigger, Allan moved. The 4-year-old threw himself between Jin-woo and Minho, arms spread wide. Don't hurt my daddy, he screamed. Everything stopped. Jin-woo stared at the child, this brave, stupid, beautiful boy, and for the first time in decades, hesitated. Minho used the hesitation. He lunged forward, knocking Allan aside, tackling Jin-woo. The gun went off. The bullet buried itself in concrete. They grappled, brutal and desperate. Outside, sirens wailed. Sungmin and a team of police, legitimately hired, legally sanctioned, flooded the warehouse. Jin-woo realized too late. Minho didn't come alone. He came legally. As Jin-woo was cuffed and dragged away, he spat at Minho's feet. This isn't over. Minho scooped Allan into his arms, shaking. Yes, it is. But was it really over? Because Jin-woo had one final card to play from inside his cell. And when he played it, Minho would have to face the one enemy he couldn't defeat, his own past. 3 days after the warehouse, life tried to return to normal. But normal felt like a foreign language. Allan woke up screaming twice a night. Minho sat with him until dawn, whispering promises he was terrified he couldn't keep. Julie moved through the days like a ghost, smiling when Allan looked but crumbling the moment he turned away. They were alive. They were together. But they weren't okay. On the 4th day, Minho received a letter. It was hand-delivered by a lawyer, stamped with official seals that made his stomach drop. Inside, a legal petition from Park Jin-woo, filed from his prison cell. The petition claimed Minho orchestrated an illegal kidnapping operation to frame Jin-woo, using his illegitimate child as bait. It included evidence, doctored photos, manipulated timelines, testimony from hired liars. It was complete fiction, but it was filed in a Korean court where Jin-woo still had allies. And the petition requested full custody of Allan, claiming Minho was an unfit parent with criminal ties. Julie read the document once and vomited. Minho stood motionless, the letter crumpling in his fist. He can't win, he said flatly. The evidence against him is overwhelming. But he can drag us through court for years, Julie whispered. He can make our lives hell. He can use Allan as a weapon even from prison. Minho's jaw tightened. Then I end it. Permanently. Julie's eyes snapped to his. No. You promised me you were done with that. I promised I'd protect you, Minho corrected. And if that means becoming the monster again, you lose anyway, Julie interrupted. Because I won't stay with that man. And I won't let Allan grow up thinking murder is love. The words landed like bullets. Minho staggered back, stung. So what do I do? He asked, voice breaking. Let him destroy us from behind bars? We fight him legally, Julie insisted. With lawyers. With truth. With the system. The system is broken, Minho argued. Then we fix it, Julie replied. Or we break trying. But we don't become him. For a long moment, Minho just stared at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Okay, We do it your way. The next 3 months were war by paperwork. Minho hired the best legal team money could buy. They dismantled Jinwoo's claims piece by piece, exposing the lies, the bribes, the fabrications. They presented evidence of Jinwoo's actual crimes, recordings, financial trails, witness testimony from former employees who finally felt safe enough to speak. It was exhausting. It was expensive. It was brutal. But it was legal. During this time, Minho also did something unexpected. He went public. He gave an interview to a major Korean news outlet, sitting beside Julie, with Allan playing quietly nearby. He talked about his past, not glorifying it, but not hiding it either. He admitted to the violence, the mistakes, the years he spent believing power was safety. I was wrong, he said on camera, and I'm spending the rest of my life proving I can be better. For my son, for the woman I love, for the people my old life hurt. The interview went viral. Public opinion shifted. Suddenly, Minho wasn't just a former gangster. He was a father fighting to protect his child from a legitimate threat. Jinwoo's narrative crumbled. 6 months after the kidnapping, the court ruled in Minho's favor. Jinwoo's custody petition was denied. His sentence was extended. His assets were frozen. He was finished. But Minho didn't celebrate. He just went home, picked up Allan, and held him like a lifeline. It's over, Julie whispered, tears streaming. Minho nodded. It's over. That night, they didn't talk about the future. They just existed together. Minho, Julie, and Allan, eating takeout on the floor, laughing at nothing, healing in increments. A week later, Minho made a decision. He sold his remaining shares in the family business. He liquidated the properties tied to his old life. He donated a significant portion to organizations fighting human trafficking, ironic, considering where his fortune came from. What was left, he put into a trust for Allan. And he started a foundation, one that helped women like Julie who needed to disappear from dangerous situations. Julie cried when he told her, "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Minho replied, "because you taught me that power without purpose is just violence." 3 months later, they married. It was a small ceremony, just close friends, Sung Min as best man, Allan as ring bearer. Julie wore white. Minho cried during the vows. When the officiant asked if he took Julie as his wife, Minho's voice was steady. "I do. Again. Always." And when he kissed her, it wasn't desperate or afraid. It was certain. But happy endings were never really endings, were they? Because 5 years later, something happened that tested everything Minho and Julie built. And this time, the threat didn't come from enemies. It came from within. Stay with me for the final chapter. 5 years after the wedding, life looked completely different. Minho was 42 now, with silver threading through his hair and laugh lines around his eyes. He ran a legitimate security consulting firm, helping businesses protect themselves from the kind of threats he once posed. It was redemption disguised as entrepreneurship. Julie was 38, still running the women's clinic she built from nothing. It had expanded to 3 locations now, funded partially by Minho's foundation. She spoke at conferences. She trained new doctors. She was everything she wanted to be before fear made her small. And Allan was 9 years old, brilliant and curious, with his father's strategic mind and his mother's compassionate heart. He wanted to be a doctor, or maybe a negotiator. He changed his mind every week. They also had a daughter now, Nia, 3 years old, with her mother's smile and lungs that could wake the dead. Life was good, stable, safe, until the day Minho received a visitor at his office. The man was young, mid-20s, nervous, Korean. He introduced himself as Lee Jae-sung, and his first words made Minho's blood run cold. I'm Park Jin-woo's son, and I need your help. Min-ho studied the young man carefully. He saw echoes of Jin-woo in the jawline, the posture. But the eyes were different, less cruel, more desperate. Why would I help you? Min-ho asked flatly. Jae-sung swallowed hard. Because my father is dying. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And before he dies, he's trying to activate old cells, people loyal to him, to finish what he started. Min-ho's expression didn't change. Which is destroying you, Jae-sung said. And your family. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Min-ho leaned back. So you came to warn me? I came to ask you to stop it, Jae-sung clarified. I don't want my father's legacy to be more blood. I don't want to inherit his war. Min-ho studied him. Why should I believe you? Jae-sung pulled out a USB drive. Because I brought proof. Names. Locations. Bank accounts. Everything you need to dismantle what he's building. He paused. I don't want to be my father's son. I want to be better. The words echoed something Min-ho said years ago, and he felt the ghost of his past self staring back at him. I'll need to verify this, Min-ho said finally. I understand, Jae-sung replied. That night, Min-ho told Julie everything. She listened, then asked the question he'd been avoiding. Do you trust him? Min-ho hesitated. I don't know. But if he's telling the truth, we need to act fast. And if he's lying, then we're walking into a trap, Min-ho admitted. Again. Julie took his hand. Then we walked together. Over the next 2 weeks, Min-ho's team verified Jae-sung's information. It was legitimate, terrifyingly so. Jin-woo had been coordinating from his prison hospital bed, using smuggled phones and bribed guards. He'd activated sleeper cells across 3 countries. He was planning simultaneous strikes on Min-ho's businesses, Julie's clinics, and, worst of all, Allan's school. Min-ho's response was swift and surgical. He didn't meet violence with violence. He met it with exposure. He leaked everything to authorities, to media, to the public. He made Jin-woo's final gambit so visible that no one could execute it without being caught on camera. The cells collapsed before they could act. Jin-woo's legacy died before he did. 3 weeks later, Min-ho received word. Park Jin-woo was dead. He didn't celebrate. He just nodded, closed his eyes, and exhaled a breath he'd been holding for 10 years. That night, Jae-sung visited again. Thank you, he said quietly. Min-ho shook his head. You stopped it. Not me. We stopped it together, Jae-sung corrected. Min-ho considered this, then extended his hand. Then let's build something better. Together. Jae-sung shook it. And in that moment, a cycle broke. 6 months later, Min-ho and Julie sat on their porch, watching Allan teach Nia how to kick a soccer ball. Do you ever miss it? Julie asked. The power. The danger. Min-ho thought about it. Sometimes, he admitted. But then I look at them. He nodded toward the kids. And I remember what I was fighting for. Julie leaned into him. What's that? This, Min-ho said simply. Just this. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. Allan laughed. Nia shrieked. The world kept turning. And for the first time in his life, Min-ho didn't feel like he was running from something. He felt like he'd arrived. But wait, there was one more twist. Because 3 years after Jin-woo's death, someone showed up at Min-ho's office with a revelation that changed everything. And I mean everything. Keep watching. It was a Tuesday afternoon when she walked in. Her name was Park Yuna, and she was 28, beautiful in a way that made people stare. She didn't make an appointment. She just appeared in Minho's office lobby and refused to leave until he saw her. Minho's assistant was apologetic. "Sir, she says it's about your past. Says she'll wait all day if she has to." Minho felt ice slide down his spine. His past had a habit of showing up uninvited. "Send her in." Yuna sat across from him, hands folded, and delivered the words that shattered his understanding of the past decade. "Park Jin-woo wasn't my father. You are." Silence. Minho's brain short-circuited. "Excuse me." Yuna pulled out documents, DNA tests, birth certificates, hospital records. Her hands shook slightly as she spread them across his desk like evidence at a trial. "My mother was Lee Soo-min. You had a relationship with her 29 years ago, before you met Julie. She got pregnant. She never told you." Minho's mind raced back through decades. Lee Soo-min. He remembered her now. A brief relationship during his darkest years. Nothing serious. Both of them too young and too reckless to know better. "Why didn't she?" "Because Jin-woo threatened her," Yuna interrupted, voice cracking. "He found out she was pregnant with your child. He forced her to marry him, raised me as his own, and used me as leverage to keep her silent. She tried to leave once when I was 6. He broke her arm and told her if she ever tried again, he'd kill you and make her watch." Minho felt like he was drowning. The room tilted. "And your mother?" "She died 5 years ago," Yuna said quietly. "Pancreatic cancer. 3 months from diagnosis to death. Before she died, she told me everything. She said if Jin-woo ever died, I should find you. She said you deserved to know you had another child. She said..." Her voice broke. "She said she was sorry for letting him steal your daughter from you." Minho stared at this woman, this stranger who was supposedly his daughter, and felt the earth shift beneath him. He saw flashes of Soo-min in Yuna's features. The curve of her jaw. The way she held herself. Careful, controlled, like someone who learned early that vulnerability equaled pain. "Does Jae-sung know?" he asked. Yuna shook her head. "He thinks we're half-siblings through Jin-woo. I haven't told him yet. I wanted to tell you first. I wanted to know if you even wanted." She couldn't finish the sentence. The vulnerability was too raw. Minho rose slowly and walked around the desk. He stopped in front of her, and when he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "I spent 29 years not knowing you existed, and now that I do, I don't know if I'm worthy of being your father. I don't know if I can make up for missing your entire life, but if you'll let me try." Yuna looked up at him, tears streaming. "I spent my whole life being Jin-woo's weapon," she whispered. "Trained to manipulate, to lie, to destroy. I want to know what it's like to be loved by a father who doesn't see me as a tool." Minho's eyes filled with tears. He didn't know what to say. Didn't know if he was worthy of this. Didn't know if he could survive another person he failed to protect. But he opened his arms. And when Yuna stood and stepped into them, sobbing like the child she never got to be, Minho held her and made a promise he'd spend the rest of his life keeping. "I've got you now, and I won't let go." That evening, Minho told Julie everything. They sat on their bedroom balcony, the city lights below looking like fallen stars. Julie listened without interrupting, her face cycling through shock, sympathy, and something that looked like exhausted acceptance. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she surprised him by laughing, not cruelly, but with disbelief. Of course you have a secret adult daughter. Because this family wasn't complicated enough." Minho winced. "I didn't know." "I know," Julie replied. She reached for his hand. "I'm not angry, Minho. I'm just processing." She paused. "Does she seem genuine?" "I think so," Minho said. But I'm verifying everything before I tell the kids. Before I let myself believe. Before you break your heart again, Julie finished. I know. She cupped his face gently. But if she's real, if she's really your daughter, then we make room. That's what families do. Minho pulled her close, overwhelmed. How did I get so lucky? You didn't, Julie replied honestly. You fought for it, every day, and you're still fighting. 2 weeks later, the DNA results arrived. Minho opened the envelope alone in his office. His hands shook as he read the conclusion. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Yuna was his daughter. He sat in silence for 20 minutes, grieving the 29 years he lost, the little girl he never got to protect, the woman she had to become to survive. Then he made a call. Yuna, it's Minho. The results came back. You're my daughter. His voice cracked. Would you like to meet your family? On the other end of the line, Yuna's sob was answer enough. The first family dinner was awkward and beautiful. Allan, now 12, was shy but curious. So you're my sister? Like my actual sister? Yuna smiled tentatively. Technically half-sister. But yeah. That's so cool, Allan breathed. Do you know martial arts? Dad said you grew up in Jean Woo's house. Did you have bodyguards? Did you ever? Allan, Julie interrupted gently. Let her eat. Nia, 6 years old and fearless, climbed into Yuna's lap without asking. You're pretty, she announced. Can you braid hair? Mommy always makes mine too tight. Yuna laughed, surprised. Yeah, I can braid hair. And just like that, the ice broke. Over dinner, they talked carefully around the trauma. Yuna shared safe stories. Her love of art, her degree in psychology, her dream of helping people heal from abuse. Minho watched her interact with his children and felt something click into place. After dinner, Yuna helped Julie with dishes. The silence was comfortable at first. Then Julie spoke quietly. He's a good father now. He wasn't always, but he learned. Yuna's hands stilled in the soapy water. Did he hurt you? No, Julie replied, but he disappeared when I needed him most. And when he came back, I had to decide if forgiveness was possible. She glanced at Yuna. It was. But it took time. And honesty. And him proving every single day that he'd changed. Do you think? Yuna hesitated. Do you think he can love me? Even though I'm a stranger? Even though I'm Jean Woo's? You're not Jean Woo's anything, Julie interrupted firmly. You're Minho's daughter. You're Allan and Nia's sister. And if you want to be, you're part of this family. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. I'd like that. Julie pulled her into a hug. Then welcome home. The next challenge came when Yuna told Jae-sung the truth. They met at a cafe, neutral ground. Jae-sung listened to the DNA results, the story about his father's coercion, the revelation that they weren't blood-related after all. When Yuna finished, she waited for anger, for rejection, for proof that she was too damaged to deserve good things. Instead, Jae-sung laughed, broken and relieved. So we're not related, he said slowly. We're just two people who survived the same monster. Yeah, Yuna whispered. Jae-sung reached across the table and took her hand. Good. Because I've been in love with you for 3 years, and it's been torture thinking we were siblings. Yuna's breath caught. You, what? I'm in love with you, Jae-sung repeated, clearer this time. And now that I know we're not related, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you. Yuna cried. Jae-sung stood, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her forehead. And just like that, another piece of the broken puzzle clicked into place. Over the next year, the family expanded in ways Minho never imagined. Yuna moved to Lagos. She started working at the foundation Minho created, using her psychology degree to counsel women escaping abuse. She was brilliant at it, because she understood the fear, the shame, the impossible choices. Jae-sung followed 6 months later. He and Yuna got engaged quietly, no spectacle, just love. Minho walked Yuna down an imaginary aisle during the planning stages, tears streaming, heart full. "I wish I could have done this when you were 5, he admitted. "Walked you to your first day of school. Scared off your first boyfriend. Been there." "You're here now," Yuna replied. "That's what matters." Allan became the protective younger brother, vetting Jae-sung with hilarious seriousness. Nia declared herself flower girl and practiced throwing petals for months. And Julie? Julie watched her chaotic, beautiful, hard-won family grow and thought about the girl she was 10 years ago, running scared, pregnant, alone. She thought about how close she came to never knowing this. How close they all came to staying broken. 3 years after Yuna's arrival, Minho was 48. His hair was more silver than black. His body moved slower, scarred by old wounds and older regrets. But his eyes were brighter than they'd ever been. He stood in the Foundation's new headquarters, a gleaming building funded by legitimate businesses, staffed by people who believed in second chances, decorated with children's art from survivors who'd passed through. Julie ran the medical wing. Yuna ran trauma counseling. Jae-sung managed security with a philosophy opposite to his father's: protection, not control. Allan, now 15, volunteered every weekend, teaching kids soccer and math. Nia, 8, ran an unofficial art therapy program from a corner office she claimed as her own. It was messy. It was loud. It was imperfect. It was home. One afternoon, Minho stood in the lobby watching intake staff greet a new family, a mother with 2 kids, eyes wide with fear and hope. Yuna crouched to the children's level, speaking softly, making them laugh. She glanced back at Minho and smiled. He smiled back, thinking about cycles. How violence bred violence. How trauma echoed through generations. How easy it would have been to stay broken. But also how love, stubborn, messy, hard-won love, could rewrite history. Julie slipped her hand into his. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. "We did it," Minho whispered. Julie shook her head gently. "We're doing it. Every day." He squeezed her hand. "Then let's keep going." That evening, the entire family gathered for dinner at Minho and Julie's home. The table was too small for everyone now. Chairs were mismatched. Conversations overlapped. Nia spilled juice. Allan argued playfully with Jae-sung about soccer teams. Yuna and Julie traded stories about difficult patients. Minho sat at the head of the table, watching his family, biological, chosen, complicated, perfect, and felt a peace so profound it ached. After dinner, Allan pulled out a guitar. He'd been learning for months. He played badly but enthusiastically, and everyone clapped anyway. Then Yuna stood. "I want to say something." The room quieted. Yuna looked at Minho, eyes shining. "3 years ago, I didn't know if I'd survive telling you who I was. I thought you'd reject me. Thought the family you'd built wouldn't have room for Jin Woo's legacy." "You're not his legacy," Minho interrupted gently. "I know that now," Yuna replied. "Because you taught me. All of you taught me." She looked around the table. "You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." She raised her glass. "So here's to broken people who refuse to stay broken. To families built from ashes. To second chances and third chances and however many chances it takes." Everyone raised their glasses. To family, they echoed. And as the evening stretched into night, laughter bouncing off walls, dishes piled in the sink, children falling asleep on couches, Minho thought about the man he used to be. That man ruled through fear. That man thought power was safety. That man was lonely and didn't even know it. But this man was surrounded by proof that love was the most dangerous, most powerful force in existence. Because love made you vulnerable. Love gave enemies targets. Love meant caring about something more than your own survival. But love also made you fight harder. Love made you better. Love gave you reasons to wake up and try again. Minho looked at Julie, asleep with her head on his shoulder. At Allan, sprawled on the floor with sheet music scattered around him. At Nia, curled into Yuna's lap like she'd always belonged there. At Jae-sung, laughing at something only he heard. And he understood, finally, what redemption really meant. It wasn't erasing the past. It wasn't pretending the blood on your hands washed clean. It was building something beautiful anyway. It was showing up every day and choosing better. It was breaking cycles and starting new ones. It was this. Just this. And that, besties, was how a man who once ruled through fear learned to lead through love. How a woman who ran for survival learned to stand her ground. How a child became the bridge between two broken people. And how a family rose from the wreckage of violence and chose, every single day, to be better. But let me tell you something real. This story? It isn't just entertainment. It is a mirror. Because how many of us were running from our past? How many of us thought we were too broken to be loved? How many of us believed that the mistakes we made defined us forever? Minho could have stayed in the darkness. Julie could have kept running. Yuna could have let Jin Woo's poison consume her future. Jae-sung could have inherited his father's empire of violence. But they didn't. They chose differently. They chose harder. They chose each other. And yeah, it took years. Yeah, there were setbacks and scars and nights when giving up felt easier than fighting. But they kept showing up. They kept trying. They kept believing that even the most broken people could heal if they were brave enough to let love in. So if you are watching this and you are carrying something heavy, a secret, a regret, a fear that you are too damaged to deserve good things, let this story be your permission slip. You are not your worst moment. You are not the lies someone told you about yourself. You are not too broken to build something beautiful. You're just waiting for the courage to start. And besties, that courage, it starts with a single choice. One decision to stop running. One moment of vulnerability. One person who looks at your scars and says, I'm staying anyway. Minho found that in Julie. Julie found that in Minho. And together, they built a family that proved redemption wasn't about perfection, it is about persistence. So here was my challenge to you. Whoever you were running from, whatever you were hiding, maybe it is time to stop. Maybe it is time to face it. Maybe it is time to let someone see the real you and discover that you are worthy of love anyway. If this story hit you where it hurt, in the best way, please like this video. Share it with someone who needed to hear that broken didn't mean finished. Subscribe because we were building a community of people who believed in second chances, messy healing, and love that fights back. Drop a comment telling me, which moment destroyed you emotionally? Team Minho or Team Julie? Trick question, they were both heroes. What would you do if you found out you had a secret child? And if you made it this far? You are my real ones. The besties who don't just watch stories. You feel them. You are the ones who believe that fiction could teach us how to live better lives. You are the ones who understood that these characters aren't just entertainment, they are reflections of our own capacity to change. I see you. I appreciate you. And I am honored you trusted me with over 60 minutes of your life. One more thing before you go. Please support our growth by hitting that subscribe button, like this story, and share. It really means a lot to me. Until next time, besties, keep choosing love over fear. Keep choosing truth over comfort. Keep choosing to show up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because that's how legends are born. Peace, love, and hazel eyes. See you in the next story.